Hi, I'm Nisha DeGaring, host of Good Things Utah, and I've been a longtime supporter of Todd's Belief Cast. I hope you find inspiration in the courageous stories shared by the amazing people Todd features on his show. The guests serve as shoulders for us to stand on, allowing us to see a little further and cultivate belief in oneself. Remember, you have the dignity and power to change. I encourage you to keep striving and believing in yourself. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires Belief Cast. As always, thank you for tuning in. And again, thanks to my sponsors. Today on the Belief Cast, I'm honored to sit down with a powerhouse of purpose and positivity, Derek Miner. Derek, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks so much, Todd. It's a privilege.
We got to share the stage about a month ago, and listening to you speak and your energy and the love you have for helping people was amazing to me. And I'm just, again, it's an honor for me to have you here, honestly as well. So you're a busy guy, got a lot going on. So thanks for taking the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Derek is not only a top entrepreneur and one of Utah's top 100 founders, but he's also a culture builder at heart. As a partner at the Lemonade Stand and co-founder of Build Then Bless, Derek is transforming workplaces through intentional connection, empathy, and belief in people. His passion for business is matched only by his love for uplifting others, and his track record proves it. He's won many awards. He leads by example. He shows all of us that success and service go hand in hand. You're in for a powerful conversation with this amazing person. So again, we are so fortunate to have you.
Oh, thank you, Todd.
You bet. So why don't we start off for our listeners to understand, where did you grow up, and tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Yeah. I grew up here in Utah on a farm.
Oh, farm boy.
Born in Sanpete County.
Okay.
And grew up learning amazing lessons of farm and ranch life, learning to care for other things.
Yeah, right.
And always grew up with horses and have incredible parents who taught me the value of hard work. Boy. Have amazing siblings too. I've got one brother and three sisters that are just absolutely fantastic.
Where do you fall in the pecking order?
I'm second to the youngest.
Okay.
And, together we learned a lot of really important life lessons.
Yeah, I can imagine. My father-in-law, who has since passed, but he was a rancher, and he had ranches up in Idaho, and we'd go up there and help him brand cows, and he just loved ranching. But man, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
But what a gift that you learned at a young age what the value of hard work is and what it means. So talk about that for a minute, because I'll be honest with you, the clients I work with in my daily practice, a lot of them are struggling with just putting in the work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They almost kind of like avoid it, Yeah. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, talk about what that was like, learning to get up early and get out there and really do some hard things.
Yeah. Well, I remember early lessons that, my dad always told me, look, the horses don't water themselves. And so you got to go make that happen.
Exactly.
And I think at a very young age, learning, responsibility more than anything, but I think more, growing up too, it probably gave my mom several heart attacks because we had our horses right in our backyard. And when I was, I think 3 or 4 years old, she was doing dishes and looking out the back window, and I'd gone out and I'd climbed up the fence and gotten on one of the horses that was standing right by the fence. And here I am just riding around. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. But with all that enjoyment that comes from being around animals and the appreciation of being able to enjoy those animals outdoor, it was the days that were hot in the July heat, hauling hay for these horses. I'm like, wait, why are we doing this again? Right. But isn't it so interesting, kind of this dichotomy that you have of like, I put in the work and I'm able to then experience when we'd go up in these beautiful mountains to be able to look down on those very fields where we were hauling hay.
Yeah.
And having a perspective then at just a young age. And there's something about it too. I'll never forget this, going, with my dad and his brothers and my brother and we'd go out and we'd go into this field, and you look at this field and you're like, oh my gosh, there is so much work to do. There is so much hay, and if it's rained, it's even worse because you've got to go turn the hay and flip it so it doesn't mold or dry and just all these things. You're dealing with all these different elements and at the same time thinking on your feet real time.
Yeah.
But there's something too when you get everything back and it's put in the barn or it's all stacked and you are able to look back and say, man, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I have hay down my shirt. I itch like crazy. But to be able to say, man, I was able to do that. And I'm grateful for parents who showed me the value of hard work and putting in the effort to then, not that you do it for a reward, but rewards come as a result of paying the price and even just showing up.
Right. I love that. And, part of that reward or value is when you do see the hay stacked beautifully and it's like this perfect square and you cleaned up the hay field and you're going, look how good that looks.
Yeah.
There it is. There's the reward. I can relate because I love doing yard work. And
I do too.
I can imagine. And I love to look at my yard when I'm done. I'm like, man, that looks so good. Yeah. And no one's around. It's just for me. Yeah. I'm just like, you know what? This looks good. I feel good now.
That's right. It's so funny you said that because literally I pulled in my driveway last night and my son mowed the lawn in the front yard and I was looking at him like, man, those lines are so straight. So proud of him. I'm like, dude, I brought him out. I'm like, look how good this looks. This is so awesome. So hopefully, who's going to really listen to this in the end? It's probably going to be our kids. And I want them to know, it's like, kids, you guys are, hopefully gave you the kind of environment that I had to growing up to learn how to work, to learn how to make a difference. And it's tough too when a lot of our neighbors show up and they, or even other people, they're like, my friends, man, they have people that come and do their yards for them, and I'm like,
right,
sorry about it. You guys are so capable and I believe in you. And then just to have that moment too, where I pulled in the drive the other day and I was looking at these lines. I'm like, man, those are good.
I love that you say lines because I'm all about straight lines and then putting a border on the yard, make it look like a picture frame.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. There's a proper way to mow your lawn.
There is.
Yeah. So here you are. So here you're trying to teach your own kids the value of hard work. It's probably a little more difficult, I would imagine, because you're not on a farm currently, correct? No. So have you found that being a little bit more challenging? Is teaching them that value, or have you just got creative and found other ways to doing that?
Yeah, great question. Well, we don't have, and they haven't had. My oldest did when we still had our horses, the opportunity to go down there and experience that. But I've tried to be very intentional with my kids and teaching them the values of and work ethic. And I think a lot of this I can't take credit for. I got to give credit to my wife. But we, having similar ideals of what we wanted to instill in our kids. And while we didn't have that, I think there's so many life lessons that are important that teach the value of hard work, of endurance, of resilience. In fact, I was just thinking about this because a memory popped up on my phone. My oldest son will be home in about 27 days from Argentina.
Congratulations.
On a mission.
That's
so
awesome.
Excited, but who's counting?
Yeah.
But
right.
I'll never forget when he was 10 years old, he said, Dad, can we go hike Mount Timpanogos? I'm like, he's 10.
Wow.
And I said, okay, our goal is just to make it to the saddle,
right?
And see how we do. I was with one of my other really good friends and he had a couple of his kids too. He's like, saddle's a great goal.
Sure.
And, we made it up there. We started early in the morning, got all the way to got to the saddle and my son looked at me and he's like, what's that? I'm like, that's the top. He's like, well, let's go. And I'm like, wait a second.
10-year-old.
Yeah. And so we get up there, and in fact, we've talked a lot about that, as he's been in, serving in Argentina, these beautiful people there. And when days he doesn't want to get up, he's actually referenced that story. He's like, man, you remember when we got up there? He's like, when it seemed so hard, we went and we made it to the top. Yeah. And even on the way down, we ran out of water. And he's like, we got to figure this out. And so we went over to the spring and I had a little pump and we were able to, and it was one of the longest days hiking ever, but it was one of the most meaningful days ever. And I think about, that experience often and what he, what he's learned and he just, I'm so proud of all my kids, for how they show up and how he did and trying to instill these life lessons into them, that you don't have to be on a farm, but taking responsibility and learning to leave something better than you found it, I think is something we've tried to instill.
Yeah, that's beautiful. we talked about learning the value of hard work from your parents. What other lessons? I know there's probably 1,000 of them, but is there a couple other lessons that you learned from your parents that stand out to you?
Oh man. So many. My father passed away almost 2 years ago, and there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about it.
Yeah.
But he was a true Renaissance man in what he did, and the lessons that he taught, I'm continually, thinking about and reflecting on. But he was also a concert pianist, and the amount of, so a cowboy concert pianist, it's pretty incredible. But the amount of time that I saw and effort in not only taking care of us, but also developing his talents to bless the lives of other people. And he'd always say that when he'd play or perform, he says, this isn't about me. It's, I want to be able to touch and reach someone's heart. So growing up in a house, where I could hear music all the time and get a deep appreciation for music and what that does for our soul. In fact, one of my favorite quotes of all time, he'd talk about this, and I think about the power of music, that it is international, right? There's not a language barrier with music.
That's true.
And he'd share this quote. He'd say, music moves us and we know not why. We feel the tears but cannot trace their source. It is as though it is a language from some far off land for what can stir the soul like music. Ooh. For common things of a common day, God gave us speech in a common way. And to the poets, the ability to articulate the deeper things men and women feel. But for heights and depths no words could reach, God gave us music, the soul's own speech. And that stuck with me, and
that's powerful.
Forever, just
that
to think
chills.
about.
That's awesome.
To think about the power of music and what that's meant in my life. And like all of us, he made us practice the piano and do all of that, and I've tried to do that to our kids. All of our kids are playing the piano right now. Yeah. Some reluctantly and some
sure.
But I think about that. When I was 16, I'm like, I don't want to play the piano anymore. He's like, okay, choose another instrument and practice an hour a day. It's kind of the discipline.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
which one do you want?
I'll do that. And so, and that's one thing that I learned from my dad. Not only real life lessons in the farm and showing up and leaving things better than you found them. Whether that's things or people. He was a great example. In fact, one of my favorite stories that I didn't even know about. He didn't tell me about this, but it was at his funeral. Before anyone was there, I was there just kind of alone, walking down this hall, and I saw this gentleman. He had a badge, and it was a city badge, for Provo City.
Oh, okay.
And he said, "Hey, is this the funeral for O'Neill Minor?" I said, "Yeah, it is." And I said, "How did you know my dad?" And he just stopped for a second, and he said, "I was a young intern and just doing janitorial services here in the county building in Provo." And he said, "Your dad was always so kind to me, and he saw me for who I was." And it just hit me. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. And to think that it's like, whoa, we can make a difference for even the unseen, or for those that go unappreciated or unrecognized. An intern who's a janitor. And it just, that was so powerful. And I think he always, he taught me, and hopefully I'm learning and still learning, to see those that go unrecognized so often. That was something really powerful to learn lessons from my dad. From my mom, one of the really unique things was every one of my siblings, we had the opportunity to work with my mom. In fact, when I was starting another company, I said, she had years of human resource experience, and I said, "I need your help. We're starting a company," and she's like, "Derek, I'm retired. I can help you, do this." I said, "Please, we're hiring a whole bunch of people. I want to make sure we're doing everything right. Will you come and just help us?" And she did, and she showed up, and she worked with us for almost 4 years.
Really? Okay.
And our team, I think one of the greatest compliments too is our relationship there. I called her Tamra. Yeah. She's so incredible, but a lot of people called her their work mom as well. In fact, it's kind of funny because we were in marketing, and one of our billboards said, "Your mom uses billboards," because we were an online marketing company. And they're like, "Derek, this is no offense to you or your mom." I'm like, "No." It was actually really kind of funny.
Yeah.
But how she showed up.
Yeah.
In fact, she didn't call it HR, human resources. She called it people services. Ooh. We're here to serve people.
Yeah,
And
man.
don't ever forget that. And so, and I saw how she showed up not only as a mom, but, you know, a working mom as well. And what, you know, what they've meant to me, it is just extraordinary to reflect on those life lessons. So those are a few, Todd, of many.
I know there's thousands, I'm sure, but thank you for sharing. That was so well said, and thank you. That really took me on a journey in my mind there. How beautiful to have that type of a relationship with your mom. And then obviously the stuff you learned from your dad. You know, it reminded me, you know, talk about your dad, you know, just noticing the people who are unnoticed and making sure they feel good. And it reminded me of John Wooden, the coach for UCLA. That was one of his specialties.
He loved John Wooden. He always had John Wooden quotes.
Yeah, and John Wooden was that guy who, you know, he knew everyone's name. He knew the janitor's name. He knew the teacher's name. I mean, he was that guy. He didn't think he was above anybody, and I love that. He'd be out there sweeping the floor himself and things like that. So it kind of reminded me of your dad when you were saying that. And it's interesting. You're like, he was a John Wooden fan.
Totally.
That is amazing.
Huge basketball fan. In fact, I never beat him in a free throw competition.
Really?
Yeah. He 100 over 100 in a row. This is an ultimate free throw shooter.
That's amazing. That is fascinating. Well, so, you know, obviously now you have your family and you're raising your kids. You've got a kid coming home from a mission, which, you know, 27 days, who's counting, right? Talk about, you know, the challenges, you know, being a father, you know, because again, there's a lot going on in this world. You know, you got kids with, you know, they have social media. You know, I didn't have, or maybe you didn't have that either when you were younger. You seem a lot younger than me, so I don't know. I'm trying to be safe here.
You're awesome.
But you know, so how do you navigate these different challenges? Because when you were growing up on the farm, there was no phones to distract you.
Yeah.
So, but here we have our kids. I just love to hear your thoughts on that, because so many of my listeners tune in and go, God, my kid's struggling with social media. I don't even know what to do here.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you don't mind sharing kind of your thoughts on that.
I'm happy to. I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Good.
In fact, my kids don't have social media.
Oh, wow.
None of them. And my son, when he was, he had a class, a college level class in high school, and he's like, I've got to create a LinkedIn account, Dad. Will you help me? I'm like, yeah, for sure. And I've got a post for this. Can you help me do this? And all of a sudden he starts posting. I'm like, well, these are actually really good posts.
Yeah.
And then when he gets his mission call, it's like, hey, you need to create a Facebook page. And he's like, will you help me do that too? And we helped him with that, but they didn't, and they don't. So he's my oldest. My daughter just graduated from high school, and she's never had social media and hasn't missed it for a second.
So, okay, stop right there.
I'll keep going.
No. I love that. So I hear this a lot too, and I would love to hear, because it sounds like you figured out a way to explain this enough to your children where they understand, to where they go, okay, I'm going to buy. They bought into it. A lot of kids don't buy into what their parents say, no social media, but the kid doesn't buy into it, and there's a clash.
Right.
And maybe you had a few clashes along the way, I'm sure, because, you know, no one's perfect. But how did you handle that piece? Because I think this would also be good for our listeners to understand, like, how did you navigate that and help your kids buy into what you were doing?
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I'm gonna think through this, and hopefully your audience will be patient as I just think out loud here. But having been in the online marketing world and see what happens out there, it's fascinating, and it can be used well, you know, and safely. And but I asked my daughter, I said, hey, have you missed, you know, beach? She's like, not at all, you know. And she spent a lot of time. She's like, I like just being with my friends in real life. And she's spent a lot of time focusing on developing her talents with tennis, and has loved that too. So I think having a sport and
like
having
a purpose, if you will.
And but she loves connecting. She has a phone, right? But we set very we just gave them guidelines, and I don't like the word best practices. I like the word best principles, right? And teaching principles and helping them understand, this is the principle behind this, and this is why, you know, we're doing this, and helping them understand kind of the why, and then the what and the how becomes a little bit easier to kind of navigate and walk through. Now, you know, has it been perfect? No. And I think we have open and conversations with all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, another thing that I've tried to be really intentional to do, that I think goes back to experiences that I had, in the country, being alone, and not alone, but even being with people and being in nature. was an incredible experience, and just seared in my soul this love and this gratitude and appreciation for the beauties that surround us. And when we have our heads in a screen, you can't see that.
Yeah.
And so a decision that I made a long time ago, and it's great to have my wife who we thought so much the same about this. Let's go create and have experiences with our kids. And so once a month with all of my kids, I take time just to spend one-on-one with them. Again, it may not be exciting. It may be mountain biking. It may be mowing the lawn. It may be weeding, back to the yard care and taking care of the yard.
Come on, we're going to go weed.
Or going to get a drink, or going on a trip together, or just that time together with them. And just saying, hey, tell me what's on your mind.
Yeah.
Tell me what are you kind of struggling with? And sometimes it's like, yeah, Dad, I'm good. And then we just jam, and then they'll come back and they're like, hey, Dad, can I chat with you? And I mean, we're still trying to figure this out, Todd, but I think what's so interesting to try to process, even back in the olden days, it was so funny. My son's like, Dad, you were born way back in the 1900s, right? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I was.
You're like, yeah, I guess maybe you're right.
But we knew stuff we weren't missing out on.
Yeah.
Right. But now globally, I see all these things that, you'd be missing out on, and it'd almost be overwhelming. But again, just principles, I guess, back to answer the specific question, just establishing principles and to help them understand and navigate it. And they don't, again, with a lot of these people, they're like, it's okay that you don't, and not be, judgy that they're not on social media, or to someone who spends time on social media. We've been very intentional that way. And we have yet to see what the outcome will be, but what we've seen is that our kids know how to get up, and they know how to work, and they know how to build relationships with people, and how to be authentic, and how to be truthful, and how to be real. And these are all the things that we hope, along the way. Well,
I'm also hearing this, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things I see with my clients, and again, parents, is, parents will come to me, I got to get my kid off social media, but they won't listen to me. We're fighting. What I'm finding is they don't have the relationship with their kid. And what I mean by that is, what I'm hearing from you is, you would basically, let's call them dates. You're going on dates individually with your kids.
Yeah.
And then you're having a conversation. Hey, tell me how things are going. How are you really doing?
Yeah.
How's school really going?
Yeah.
Is it going good? Are you happy? Those kind of things, right? So what I'm hearing is you're establishing also this relationship. It's not just, hey, it's Dad's way or the highway, right? You're building a relationship. And I see that there's the conflict with these parents. Not that they're bad parents. They're not cultivating the relationship. Cultivate the relationship. Then you can go, hey, we need to cut back on social media. And they're going to be more apt to listen, go, and buy in.
Yeah.
Because the relationship is strong.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm hearing. That's what you did.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Well, we're and
I know you're
again,
not perfect.
We're trying.
I know
we're trying with a lot of this, but that's the
what
reality.
I hear. Yeah.
Is spending time together. And I think there comes a stage too where the kids are like, yeah, we don't really want to hang out with mom and dad anymore.
Sure.
I get that, but when we plan and we go on trips and we try to do things together, when we go somewhere, we want to take our whole crew, and it's a circus.
Sure.
We're taking everybody, but we love it. And you think about it, you don't have a lot of time. It feels like, and we're trying to savor the moments of what we have. And especially when you've got an age gap or whatever, just trying to make the most of these moments that we have, together. So
I love that. Well, you brought up the word principles, and I'm a fan of that for sure. Cause principles, are set in stone. They're working 24/7, 365 days a year, and they are true and strong, and they either work for us or against us, depending on us. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I share some principles with my clients that will change their life, but I'm not going to bring that up yet. I want to hear your thoughts. What are some of these principles? Hard work. We've already talked about hard work, relationship building, those kind of things. Can you maybe give us a few of your favorite principles, if you will? Like, is there one or two, like, hey, this one's one we always talk about, or?
Yeah, I don't know that there's just
I know.
one.
I know it's a
that
tough
we,
question.
that we talk about, but we've always talked about being someone that someone can count on, right? And being dependable. And when you say you're going to do something, do it, right?
Yeah.
Do what you say, say what you mean. I think is a really powerful thing, because it's really easy, and I think one of the greatest challenges too is to, when you make a commitment, to keep it, and that's hard. And telling your teenager, they're like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to do this, and it's like, you made a commitment to be here, and that's hard. And to be able to say, I'm going to do that. So doing what you say, saying what you mean, I think is one of the most important, principles that we talk about. I think one of the things that we've done, whether it's good or what we've tried to instill, is consistency in getting together every night. And being together as a family every night. And we will read together, and then we pray together. Nice. And I think that's been a really important thing for us, as faith is really important in as a not as a principle, but also as just what we've tried to instill in our kids, is realize who they really are, and the power that we actually have, that we believe there's divinity in every single one of us. And that there is enough sunshine to go around,
right?
For all of us, as one of my really good friends has shared with me recently. But I think that's an idea. Being trustworthy, being honest, is really, really important to us. And telling the truth and doing things right the first time is something. We talk about, it's like, if something, let's go, redo, do this, do this.
You're going to mow the lawn, make them straight.
Yeah.
That's right. Doing it right. Don't make them crooked.
That's right. And I think too, it's also the lesson of, the piano skipped my generation, and my son, is both of my sons, actually, my two of my oldest sons are exceptional pianists. And I see the time and dedication they put into something, and they realize that it's like, this is really hard. I don't want to be doing this. But finding and scheduling and being disciplined with time and what you're doing to try to make an impact, I think is really important.
For sure.
So those are a few.
No, thank you for sharing that. Again, I'm a fan of that, and principles are so simple, but not always easy to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But they're simple.
Yeah.
They really are.
And when you've made a commitment.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something better comes along, and you're like, that tension is real.
That's real.
But I think that's also where character is revealed.
Ooh.
To be able to say, yes, I'm going to keep this commitment, even though it's really, really hard, to sacrifice what you may want, most for maybe what you want now.
I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the incredible sponsors of the BeliefCast podcast. First, Craig from Craig Swap and Associates. If you need an attorney, he's your guy. Trustworthy, compassionate, always there when you need him most. Next, Wasatch Recovery, the greatest university on the planet, transforming lives one day at a time. Sandy from Minky Couture, the creative genius behind the most comfortable blanket you'll ever wrap yourself in. Comfort like no other. Special thanks to the award-winning pianist Paul Cardall for his beautiful music that brings inspiration to every episode. Boy, that's so true, isn't it, man? Have you noticed in your life that when you commit to doing the right thing, it's always challenged? I've noticed that. It's almost as if, okay, are you really serious about this? Here we go.
That's right.
You've noticed that?
Yeah.
I see it with my clients. I see it with myself. And, and again, I think you're right. That's where your character is revealed. And sometimes we fall flat on our face, and we kind of have to pick ourselves up and go, okay, I got to do better next time.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be this person.
Right.
I want to be this person over here who is trustworthy and people can rely on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, well said. Thank you for sharing that, Derek. You're a man of faith, and I know you wear that on your sleeve, and you're proud of it. And I respect you for that so much. Talk about that just a little bit. Again, I know it's a big question, but how has that shaped your life? Just your faith, and just, obviously relying on a higher power, God, and helping you through maybe, obviously challenges in your life.
Oh man, I think about this quote from C.S. Lewis, and I don't know this is exactly word for word, where he said, I don't believe in faith is like the sun at noonday. It's not that I can see it. It's by it, I can see everything else, right?
Ooh.
We get the exact
Yeah.
quote.
I like that though.
But
Yeah, that's
idea of
powerful.
this sun always being there, not that you can see it, but that it provides light for you to be able to see everything else. Man, I think often about those who have gone before, and I've been reflecting and reading stories of their lives, and they want me, they give me a desire to be better as well. I think about my great three great grandparents, right, that sacrificed everything, and I think about the reason I am, and what I have is because of their commitment to doing really, really hard things that I can't even wrap my head around.
Sure.
And I read their stories, and I believe that I'll see them someday, and they're going to ask, what did you do with my name and our name? And how did you continue on this legacy of faith and belief, and not just, faith in a religion, but faith in God and faith in Jesus Christ and the teachings that he provides, that regardless, there's so many teachings of every different faith that are of so much value.
Yeah.
But I've been reflecting on what drives someone when they're driven out and away from their homes and everything, to say, like, for instance, my grandmother, my great-great-great-grandmother, Tama, she's buried in the Springville Cemetery.
Oh, wow.
And, here her husband, dies as they're just leaving, and outside of Nauvoo, and has 8 kids to now cross the plains. My grandfather was 12. He talks about that experience. He's like, it was actually not too bad. He says it was fun for us just to cruise across the plains and have this new journey and this experience, right? And so interesting to hear that perspective, but then to arrive here and to build something out of nothing, and to sacrifice for a future date. And I think about her, and I see her face in these pictures, and I look on her, literally on her headstone. It says, children, live your religion, be true, be faithful, and it's like I can almost hear her words saying this, and I'm like, man, she gave up so much. So I think just deeply rooted in me, all these stories, right? Stories are what connect us and connect community. And there are so many beautiful people too, Todd, that I know that are not, of my faith, but are incredible people. And I think those are the principles that unite us all in being together. And one of the things that I've just been reflecting on so much is perhaps one of my favorite parables is the parable of Jesus when he approaches this city with the 10 lepers, and people steered away from them in every way because they didn't want to be exposed in any way. And he, they came up to him, and he engages with them and says, go and see the priest, and then you'll be okay. Can you imagine what that experience was like? All right, we have nothing else to lose. Let's go.
Let's go
And
talk to the priest.
They go and they have that experience, and it says all of them were healed, but one came back and said, thank you.
Yeah.
And I talk about this with my kids all the time too, as another principle, to say thank you.
Yeah.
Look at someone in the eyes and recognize someone for what they're doing for you in some small way, to just say thank you. So those are just some of the teachings, some of the things, but I just deep belief in the power of humanity, and really the core is of serving and helping and lifting others.
I love that. So beautiful. I had a client reveal this to me, and I put it to my memory, and I want to share it with you and hear your thoughts on it. And I know you'll love it because it's you. He says, I tried to find myself I could not see. I tried to find my God eluded me. I tried to find my brother, I found all three.
That is so true.
Isn't that perfect?
That
and
is
how
so
true
true.
is that, right?
Yeah.
That's where you find all of that.
That's right.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
and that's
thanks
you.
for sharing that.
That is you, Derek.
Sure.
No, it really is. And I know you're humble, but that is you. So man, I love this conversation. This is awesome. So let's talk about all the good you're doing, man. You're doing so much. You know, you're a partner at the Lemonade Stand. Talk about what that is for our listeners who may not know. And then I want to also have you, talk about Build and Then Bless.
Yeah,
Okay?
awesome. Yeah, well, I love, when I first knew about you, it was your Lemonade Stand story, which is the coolest. I absolutely love that story.
It's crazy.
And funny thing, my kids are like, well, when anyone asks, they're like, hey, what does your dad do for you? He works at a lemonade stand. They're like, he works at a lemonade stand?
That's his job?
Yeah. They're like, whoa, that's awesome. My kids the other day, they're like, Dad, can we go do a lemonade stand? I'm like, absolutely, we can. Let's go make it happen.
Let's do it.
So I'm so grateful for everyone who pulls over. In fact, there was this incredible gentleman that pulled over the other day. And my daughter walked over, can I take your order? And he said, here's just some money. And she turned around, looked at me. She's like, Dad, he doesn't want any lemonade. He's just giving his money. I'm like, it was so cool to know that there's incredible people out there like Todd who says, hey, I'm going to empty all of my trays for you, for the rising generation. Yeah. And when I think about Lemonade Stand and what that means, and I have to give credit to our team, Lemonade Stand team, who makes it so amazing to literally love what I do and love working. But every business starts as a lemonade stand, in one way or another. And our goal is to help them grow. Gotcha. And help them tell stories, because we think the very best marketing is education and storytelling. Yeah. And we love to help tell their stories. That's kind of what Lemonade Stand is, and how it started. It started by my Greg Trimble, who's an incredible human and an amazing example to me. Yeah. And when I think about, as I reflect on, our kids and the rising generation, it's surrounding yourself with incredible people like that who have great principles, who inspire me to be better, who inspire, and have had conversations with my kids to help them be better. Yeah. In fact, my daughter just, she spoke recently, and she used one of Greg's whole ideas about being a fountain or a drain. Are you a fountain or are you a drain?
Oh, wow.
And
I like that.
Use that analogy. Yeah. And I'm like, this is so cool. And I was sitting there with Greg the other day, and I told him how grateful I was for him, not only as a partner, but also as a colleague, as a friend, as a coworker, that his words have not only blessed my life. In fact, his words are what brought us together, but now they're blessing my kids' lives. Jeez. And what that means. So as we think about what is Lemonade Stand, it's an incredible marketing company where we try to do a lot of really good things, showing up for our clients in a meaningful way. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. And I love the symbolism of it. And obviously, I'm a fan of a lemonade stand. Yeah. A lemonade stand saved my life. Yeah. I mean, it truly did. It saved my life. And I get choked up when I even think about that. So thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. So talk about Build and Then Bless. Yeah. And you just gave me some, you can't see him, listeners, but you gave me some really cool shirts with his logo on it. And I'm so excited to wear them. So, but again, this just it's an extension of Derek. Derek, you're a man who loves to help people. You're following your dad's example, your mom's example, those who have gone before. And I love it. So talk about this Build and Then Bless.
Well, thank you so much. As I reflect back, where did this start? I had the opportunity in a workplace culture to work with incredible people. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget a management room table that I was around. I was one of, I think, 2 or 3 of us that were under 40, around this table. Yeah. And it was the day before we were announcing our acquisition. And the CEO, who was just an incredible example, he paused and he says, things are going to change tomorrow when we announce this acquisition. And then he got emotional and he says, I feel really bad for you young guys. He said, you'll spend the rest of your lives trying to recreate what we have here and what we built, which is an environment of high trust, high performance, just everything around that idea. And I learned there that culture was so much more than vinyl letters on the wall. It was how we showed up for each other. Yeah. It's how we did and celebrated the good times. It's how we worked through the hard times. And that set the stage for building, other ideas. And then when I meet Greg and I said, tell me what you're doing beyond just making money to make an impact, right, with Lemonade Stand. And he says, well, what we do is we actually give a portion of, everyone that wants to gives a portion of their paycheck and we match it. And then we go give it to a non-for-profit. I'm like, that is awesome.
Whoa, I love
and
that.
Build and Bless really came as a result of a rejected donation to a non-for-profit. And we gave that, we were going to present some money to a company and they, and we never heard back from them. And so we gave it to our team and said, you go do good. in your local community. And then
Okay.
will you share these stories back? And Todd, what happened is these stories that we started to hear from our team meant
bet.
way more
Yeah.
than standing in front of a big check, which is how most corporate giving happens.
Sure.
You feel good for 15 minutes and you're like, what was the impact? And you're back to work, you know?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
Just like you
Yeah.
said, right? For
Yeah.
360 however many days of, you know, doing good consistently. So that literally a light bulb went off and we're like, let's do this consistently with our team. Let's empower them with our profits to go and do good in their respective communities. We have team members in multiple states,
Yeah.
you know, all over at Lemonade
Wow.
Stand. And when they started sharing these stories, my husband and I saw this person and we were able to go and help them. And, you know, I was able to see someone and do this. And they then have these experiences, what we call hand-to-hand, eye-to-eye impact.
Yeah.
And so we started building this and we're like, we've got to collect all these stories. And we have an incredible web development team. We're like, team, could you build this out? This is what we're thinking it looks like. Greg maps it all out. And we start getting all these stories that are just showing up with our team, unsolicited,
That's
incredible
amazing.
stories
Yeah.
where they're lifting, helping. And what we say, you have to build something so that you can then bless
So you can
other
bless.
people.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
these stories, Todd, and every single week as a team in our weekly meetings, we open it up and say, hey, share some of the stories of who's impacted you or who you want to recognize or a story that you've done that you've been a part of that's just changed your life. And we have thousands of these stories now because we started this. It was in 2020, right? In COVID, when we started collecting some of these stories. And then I'll never forget, there was a board meeting that was at our office, and one of the board members who runs a very successful company looked up on our whiteboard. He's like, what is this? And we started explaining what we were building with Build and Bless. He's like, I need that in my company. And all of a sudden, Greg and I looked at each other like, why are we just keeping this internally? You know, to recognize not only each other, but also our clients doing good in the community, right? And so we started building it and launched it just last year.
Wow.
And it's been amazing to see
That's amazing.
what this has done. And so we say Build and Bless is the happiest software on the market, but more than that, it's a movement. And that was actually coined by one of our clients.
Really?
I
love
but
that.
it does
Yeah.
you know, to really engage. And I think it's one of the greatest ironies in life is the degree to which we think about ourselves, the unhappier we are, right? And all the things
Yeah.
maybe we don't have. But when we think about or see someone else where they're at and are able to do something to help them in some small way, maybe it's even just a hello or a smile,
Yeah.
and the impact that has, not only is their life hopefully touched, but ours is as well when we get out and then we experience this, not just an emotion of gratitude for what we have when we see someone else in another scenario,
Yeah.
but it's a way of being, it's a way of living, it's a way of seeing.
Yeah.
And so that's what we decided to now create a separate company
Yeah.
and bring this joy, happiness, happy employees, building happy communities around really getting outside yourself and seeing someone and being able to help them. Because a lot of people say, oh, I would love to do good and I would do good, but I can't. So, or I won't, so I can't. But this
Yeah.
kind of flips the script. And one of my favorite, with so many stories, but what this does for kids as well as we talk about this, and my kids see me paying for people
Mm-hmm.
and they just look and they're confused, you know, like, why are you doing this?
What
And
are
then
you
they look
doing,
around,
Dad?
is like, is there cameras on me? It's like, no, I want to do this. Isn't that interesting that people almost kind of doubt the intent behind
Yeah,
it
like,
when
what's
they're like,
going
hey, here's what it is. And there's
Especially nowadays.
right.
Because of the phones, everyone's filming. And,
Well, and
you
with
know?
AI, it's like, is this real? Is this
Right. Yeah.
And then you have these kind of experience where, yeah, it's, you know, it's, my son worked at a bike shop before he left on his mission, and these missionaries came in with their bikes. He had his call and he's like,
Yeah.
hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
They brought this bike in and the tire was wobbling and it was a broken spoke. Spokes aren't very expensive, but the labor was, you know? And he goes up to his boss at the time and he says, hey, I know these missionaries don't have a lot of money. Can you just take this out of my paycheck? You know, the invoice. And he was telling me this. I'm like, bud, I said, you remember Build and Bless? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, what was that invoice number? And so I drove to the bike shop. He wasn't working. He was in school. And I said,
Yeah.
hey, here's this invoice number. He's like, oh wait, yeah, that was those missionaries that came in. I'm like, I want to pay for it. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, my company gives me the opportunity to go and do things like this.
And bless some people. Yeah.
And what was so cool is I didn't have the experience of when the missionaries came to pick up their bike and said, hey, it's all good. But the manager did.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the ripple effect. And there's so many stories like this where our team members are paying for someone.
Yeah, I can only imagine them walking up to the counter. Okay, we're here to pick up our bikes.
Yeah.
What do we owe?
Yeah, exactly.
It's already taken care of.
Yeah.
Excuse me? I mean, you're right. Whoops, sorry.
And even another story like, this works internally. This was a CFO of a company that we just rolled this out with. CFOs are like, wait, you want me to give our money to someone else?
Right.
And we're walking through this like, just watch what happens. And he's like, literally, I was driving and I was stopped to get my tires changed and I was just waiting. And this other customer came in and out multiple times on the phone. He gets called up to, his truck was all done. He's like, hey, what's going on? Like, she can't afford a tire. And she's trying to find out how she's going to do it. And he's like, I want to pay for it. And the manager's like, wait, do you know her? He's like, no, I don't. And he's like, we can do better too. And so he discounted the price of that, and they both had that experience together. That's
amazing.
And so it's just this ripple effect of doing good. And again, when we're not in our screens and we're up and we're looking around, I think there's opportunities every day. In fact, there was a study at the University of Toronto that said there's every day, everyone has an opportunity for 9 opportunities for empathy every day. Yeah. And I love this idea of empathy and seeing someone and feeling that. But I think even deeper is compassion, right? Which I believe is empathy in action and an opportunity to do that. And really that's what we built with Build and Bless, is with all of technology that can support us in doing good. Why are we not doing more good? And so many people want to do good, but it's like how or where. And all of a sudden when you flip the script and say, hey, here's an opportunity to go and do good. So we like to say that, Build and Bless is humanity's antidote to the algorithm.
Wow. Dang, that's amazing. I love it. Derek, that's so impressive. And man, again, you live it. And
sure trying to.
I know you are. I know you're trying. And again, but you really are. And you're a light that shines bright, my friend. And, I when we shared the stage about a month ago together, I was like, man, this dude's on another level. Oh. Like I can just feel his goodness.
Wait, that's what I was saying about you.
I don't know about that, but thank you. But it was just great to share the stage with someone like you and to be able to go, man, I got to rub shoulders with Derek and be a part of what you're trying to do. And I know we're both trying to make a difference. And man, that's just so well said. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, and I love, and I shared this with a group too of a whole bunch of youth, that what follows I am follows you.
Yeah.
And knowing, and what I said to them just straight up, I said, think about it. What's one of the first songs we learn is I am a child of God.
Yep.
Right? But I am this. And a lot of times we lead with, oh, I am. And it's more than a logo or an ego, right? Of, hey, this is who I'm, I'm the CEO of this company, or I'm this or whatever. It's like, but no, who are you at the core? You're someone who matters.
Yep.
And isn't it incredible that I think the divinity within each of us wants to reach out, has a desire to reach out and help.
Yes.
And maybe sometimes we've lost that, but even just the opportunity to say, I'm going to just do something for someone else and watch what happens.
Yeah.
How the universe lines up and lines us up in those ways, I think those are opportunities, those 9 opportunities. I think there's probably even more for us to see people, even how connected we are. Yet I think we face an incredible crisis of disconnection.
Couldn't agree more.
And but yet we're so connected to each other. But it's like, I see you, I hear you, I value you, regardless of what your stance or position is. I can still see you as another human.
Yeah, well said. And, I heard it said this way by someone, I don't know who it was, so forgive me, but he said, we used to look up for inspiration and now we're all looking down. And to your point, right? And so, man, well, thank you for being you, and thank you for bringing light into this world, because the world needs it. I think it's starving for it, like you said, and I think it's only going to be more needed as time goes on. So I want to join the fight with you as well. But thank you for just being you. I have maybe one last question for you. If there's someone listening to you right now who's tuned into this episode and they're listening to Derek and they're struggling and they're in a dark place and they don't know what to do, they're lost, what would you tell that person?
Man, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there,
Yeah.
Todd, and to you matter. You matter more than you know. And you may not see it right now because it's so dark, but take a step towards the light, and whatever that light is, maybe a friend, maybe someone you trust, reach out to someone. Take one step, even though it may feel like just a small step, but realize how much you matter. You matter.
Yeah.
We're made of matter.
Yeah, right.
And that matter when we realize how, and isn't it incredible that how one person can have an impact on someone else's life, either for good or for bad?
For sure.
But reach out to someone you trust and you love, and be vulnerable and be honest.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that they'll also tell you how much you matter to them.
For sure.
And I think if we could see in some small way, and I think this is an opportunity, as parents, as friends, like I think about that all the time. Having been at another funeral recently, I'm like, man, someone just stood up. They're like, this person meant so much to me, and this is why. Well, did they know when they were alive? Did they know how much you meant to them when you were right there with them? And so I think every day there's opportunities for us to tell someone how much we appreciate them and what they've done for us, and how much that's mattered. And I love this conversation that I had with my little 6-year-old at the time. I said, hey, buddy, I said, what's most important to you? He just sat there and he said, I think mattering. I'm like, buddy. And I literally just looked at him. I started crying. I'm like, yes.
I bet you did.
Mattering is and I looked at him and I said, I want you to know, bud, how much you matter to me.
Amazing. Well said, my friend.
So whoever's listening, whoever's struggling, you got it. You can do it. The world's better with you in it.
Yeah.
And you can be a light. There's so much sunshine for all of us. And I was inspired by one of my friends too. We're all just trying to help each other get home.
Yeah. In
one way or another.
Yeah.
Whether that's from a destination to our actual home, or all together, back home. One of my favorite things, and Ben Kerr, who you had on here just recently,
he's a giant.
He's a cousin of mine, and we both share the same great grandfather, Melvin G. Wood. And one of his last times we had a family reunion. In fact, that's the reason that I know Ben from a very young age, is because we had the opportunity to get together, which is so awesome. Melvin G. Wood said something. He says, when we graduate this life and go to the great beyond, I don't want one of you missing.
Yeah.
And I have that hanging in our house today.
It's powerful.
And I think that's the most important. So someone, you matter.
Yeah.
And someone at your house, in your home, needs you.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And shout out to Ben. We all love Ben, man. He's
so awesome.
He's a giant in my life, and I love him. Thank you, Derek. And if someone wants to reach out to you and learn more about the Lemonade Stand and learn more about Building Them Bless and want to get to know more about you, how would they do that?
Love to connect. I'll share some of my social links. Would love to connect on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But lemonadestand.org.
Okay.
And buildthenbless.com.
Love it. And we'll put those links on the show notes when we go live, so they can click right to it.
Awesome.
And I encourage anyone listening to this to reach out to Derek and learn more about what he's doing. And if anything, maybe it'll inspire you to do something on your own where you're out making a difference in people's lives. And I agree with Derek when he said, inherently, I think that's ultimately what we love to do and need to do is help others. I think it's built in our DNA, so thank you. Wow. What a great conversation, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Todd.
This was awesome.
Thanks for inspiring me and inspiring thousands.
Oh, thank you.
Long time fan.
I appreciate that so much. And wow, that was amazing. Guys, I told you were in for a good one, and boy, weren't we ever. Guys, I love you. Thanks for tuning in. Again, thanks to my sponsors. I couldn't do this without you. And I encourage all of you to reach out to Derek, check out what he's doing. And if you have a loved one who's struggling, if a son or a daughter is in that darkness we just, referred to, send them a link to this episode. Have them listen to Derek's story. It will inspire them. And best case scenario is that you get to break the ice with this one who's struggling, and you can follow back up and say, hey, what did you think about what Derek said? And I think that will really spawn a really powerful conversation. So I know a lot of you do that because you reach back out to me and tell me, hey, I shared this with my son and it opened up his world. So please do that. Love you guys so much. And one last thank you to Derek Miner. We're all in awe of you. Thanks for being who you are. And we're lucky, and the world's lucky to have you here.
Thank you, Todd. I feel the same way about you.
Thank you so much. Love you guys. Till next time.